The last thing we need to do is change the game conditions. So we need an image in the background. We need to reverse scoring points versus the game ending, right? Because right now we have points are scored when you touch the food, and the game ends when the food hits the bottom. So, and then finally, we just need to tweak the difficulty a little bit. We're getting closer on the difficulty, but I'm thinking it's still a little bit too difficult to be fun. Um, Games are tricky, right? You want them to be difficult enough to be fun, but not so difficult that people get pissed off. Although there is, in the last 5 to 10 years, a whole genre of games that are specifically designed to be so difficult that they piss people off, right? And those have only succeeded because of social media. That's a fact. Nobody would ever play those games if you couldn't share your failures with other people. I'm convinced of that. Prove me wrong. All right, so uh, well, and then the super hard levels on the Super Mario Creator, and then we have the whole Dark Souls series, right? I mean, we could rattle off probably 2 or 3 dozen games that fall into that category of it's a whole genre. This is just too hard to actually play, but we do it anyway for some reason. Or the games where you get one life and then you're dead forever. Those are fun. Anyway, that's kind of how this game is. If the food falls, you're dead forever. Kind of. So let's see what we were going to do. I got a little off track, but we've got the image for the background. Let's do that first. So this is where we're doing the screen fill with that blue color. What we need is an image background. And I could type this code from scratch, but why would I type something from scratch when I've got the code pretty much right here? Pygame image load. And so we're come back down to here. Oh, did I pass it? Maybe not. Where am I? There it is. Image background equals pygame.image.load. And we don't want that. We want skate background. And then what we have to do with an image, we can fill a screen with a color, but when we have an image, we need to blit it onto the screen. So we're going to do screen dot blit, and we're going to say image background, and then we're going to put the coordinates of that at 0, 0 because I made the image exactly the right size for this screen. Let's check it out. Boom. Now we've got street to skate on. Okay, so there it is in all its 8-bit glory. All right, so we've got that. Let's take a look. Points being scored and game ending. We'll flip these two at the same time. Now, the first thing we need to do is tell the game when to end, right? So when the game ends is when the food falls past the end of the screen. So past the end of the screen is greater than screen height. And so we're going to kill the food. We're not going to give you a point for that, though. So let's get rid of that. And we are going to need to access the global variable of running or not. And we're going to set running to false. That just stops the game. If you had like an end of game scenario where you flash game over or you say something witty to the player or something like that, or you review the score, give them the chance to add their high score, all that crap would happen at this point. But I'm just going to set running to false here because this is budget gaming for beginners. So next thing we need to do, the last thing we need to do is we need to come back here to the collision detection, right? And we don't want this line to be a code. And so there is a slight change here. Right now we're using sprite.collideAny, and that takes 2 arguments, a player and a group. But what I'm going to do is change this to sprite.collide, which is a very similar collision detector, but it takes a 3rd argument, and that 3rd argument says, does the enemy disappear? Does that sprite get killed when you touch it? And yes, the food absolutely gets killed. hungry skateboarder and everything. So when we touch the food, now the food goes away. The player does not get killed. We don't want that. We don't want the game to end. What we want is the score to be incremented by 1. So let's test our game now. Okay. So, boom. There's my score. Uh-oh. Something weird happened. Did that just crash on me? I don't know what. I don't think I did anything. Okay, so something's not right. Let's see. I think whatever's my in-game scenario, I got something flipped here. Oh, there we go. If rectangle right, sorry, if rectangle top is greater than screen height. I was measuring the wrong thing. My bad. Now it should work just fine. Except it's excessively hard, probably. I'm just getting lucky right now. I promise I haven't been practicing this at home. You can watch me play on my Twitch channel if you want later. Okay, so maybe the difficulty is not too bad here, but these will increase in speed as the game goes, and I eventually will lose. Okay, so there's me throwing the game so that we can get on with my lecture. So that is the whole thing, really. I've taken the airplane game with the missiles that come from the side, and we've changed it into a fast food skateboarding game where we're catching the food. So that's kind of like a way you could approach this assignment if you kind of want to just learn a little bit about Pygame or take it kind of easy at first. Modifying a game that exists, using a similar mechanic but changing some of the things is a way to do it. And there's a lot you could do there. I mean, you could give the skateboarder the ability to ollie over obstacles or cars that come. Like, you could throw a bunch of stuff in there. You could add a different kind of enemy that actually does harm. Like, maybe you want to throw things from the sky that are bad for the player to catch, so that when they get in the frenzy of catching everything, they accidentally catch a bomb or something, a piano falls from the sky, or I don't know, something like that. There's all kinds of things you could do. Not to mention the fact that you could add sound effects. You could make it a better gaming experience, right? Where the game just sort of runs and you can start a new game and it does something when the game ends other than just quit the program. So those are some ways that you could enhance what's already there without having to start from scratch. And that's what I would suggest if you're interested in making a game, especially for this assignment with a relatively short timeline. That might be what you want to do.